Hello. I wanted to hop onto a quick live to say happy Women's Day and to share why it's an important day for me. Here's a poem I wrote a few years ago to mark International Women's Day, and it goes like this. My purse is in pain. My purse is in pain. It puts quite a strain on the life that I know because, well, my cash flow, it's more of a trickle, and now I'm in a pickle. I just about make ends meet. I need help. I'm pretty beat. Now this, the financial side of life for women, is a key reason that I lean into these sorts of things like Women's Day now. I have a confession to make though. Years ago, I didn't care about Women's Day because I was busy. I was busy flying around the world, interviewing people, on stage, chairing and moderating, training executives, that kind of thing. I was busy building. And I'd forgotten about key fundamental things that I'd observed as a child. For example, that a woman is much more likely to be standing at the kitchen sink. Now, this is something I noticed when I was really young, and it has stuck with me because I thought, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's pretty rubbish. Well, you know what? It's been decades since I had that observation, and it's still not fair. And it's still the case that it is most likely a woman who will be standing at the kitchen sink. Now, as with, being human, and for many of us, we realize things that are fundamental, that are important, that we care about. But then we get busy with other things, busy with the stuff of life, with daily life. And we sort of push it aside, ignore it, don't consider it. Perhaps we think it won't happen to me. Well, I'm here to say this. I look at big data, stats and facts, and the reality is that things that hold the majority of women back are most likely things that are going to hold you back at some point in life. Why? Because if it's happening to the majority, then that alone increases the chances, right? Plus, life happens, things happen. So, why am I interested in women? Because it's not fair. Fine, okay, we've established that. But specifically, it's because women are much more likely to die broke. I don't have stats since COVID, but before COVID, it was that women are 3 times more likely to die broke than men. Women are 80% more likely to be poor at 65. That's not okay. So what can I do about it? Well, a few things, and this is what I'm doing. 1, raise awareness around the financial facts of life for females. The facts of life that females find out the hard way about finance. Things like, we are told that the gender pay gap is 80 cents to the dollar. I'm here to tell you it's not true, because the problem is that the way people think about this is that, a woman will earn 80 cents to the dollar, and a woman will earn 80% of a man's pay. No. What that means is that when the facts are gathered, when those numbers are gathered from a workplace, it takes into account the people who are at work, who are working at that point in time. In other words, people who are not working, who used to work there but left, aren't taken into account. So it doesn't reflect reality. And I like things that are real. I like reality, not rhetoric. I like to know the facts and not to just take what I'm given. I like to drill down and find out information. So, yes, just under 80% is what a woman will earn on average, we're told, of a man's pay when she is working full-time alongside a man. Okay, that's what we're told. Well, what happens in reality? I'll tell you what happens. There is a study. It's the world's longest study to date. It's called the Household Panel Study. It started in the United States in 1968, and it included, I believe, 8,000 people at that point, and it's ongoing with the original people, if they're still alive, and their descendants. So this is a huge number of people. And they did a 15-year study that looked at how much money women earned compared to men out of this cohort. So in other words, it is every type of person: blue collar, white collar, graduates, postgraduates, people who didn't graduate, and every phase of life. So it is a reflection of reality. And what it found is this: women earn, on average, over the course of 15 years, brace yourselves, 49% of a man's wage. 49%. It's not because they're not clever, they're not good at their job. It's because of one key thing. Do you know what it is? It's that some women took some time off over the course of the 15 years. So it's this reality of women being the primary carers. It could be for parents who need help. It could be young children. So again, women earned 49% of a man's wage. This is why women end up poor before death. And this is before COVID. So let us, join the dots. If this was happening before COVID, and COVID figures tell us that women are the biggest losers, again, they are the first people to be, well, basically, more women have lost their jobs compared to men. Fact. Industries that are primary employers of women have really lost out. Fact. So what does this mean? Well, as far as I'm concerned, unfortunately, we're going to see what I call destitute then dead. In other words, we're going to see a huge rise in the number of women who are so poor later in life. I mean, the face of poverty at the moment is female. It's just going to get worse. That's really rubbish. Okay. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other financial facts of life for females that we can talk about another time. But that's the reality. It's about knowing the reality, not the rhetoric. Okay. So what can we do about it? What can help? Well, I believe that enabling women to self-advocate and communicate effectively and have a sense of self is key. Sounds like a bunch of fancy words. Well, what does it mean? It means this: enabling women to get across what they need and want in a way that increases the chance of them hearing yes, which is the essence of communicating effectively and with influence, means that they can get the things that will sustain them, that will sustain their success and their sanity. Their definition of success will change as the phases of life change, right? But to increase the chance of being solvent throughout life, of staying sane and not breaking in life, of being successful and able to lean into what they're brilliant at and keep doing it in some way throughout life, really increases if they can get buy-in from decision makers that'll help them get what they need and want. Now, that need and want could be they need to learn something because they want to go for that next thing. They need a skill set, another skill set. It could be they need somebody to cook 3 meals a day for a few weeks, for a few months. It could be they need to part-time at some point. They need to start work an hour earlier or later, whatever that thing is, right? It's about getting buy-in for what you need to sustain yourself and what you want so that you can go for what's next as well. These same skills are the things that will enable people to raise their profile, showcase their brilliance, be the go-to person for what they are super at doing, So that's why I really do believe that passing on the toolbox to being able to communicate effectively is key, right? Really important. Couple that with knowing what you are likely up against in life to do with finances and the trajectory of life. And I believe that people will start saying, okay, they'll recognize signs. Oh, this is happening to me. I need to go and negotiate this thing now before it overwhelms me, takes over, is too late, is more of an issue. If somebody realizes that they are being judged in a certain way, decisions are being made about them in a certain way, they're able to self-advocate. Again, communicate effectively about these things. Yeah? Because here's the thing, bias is here to stay. It's part of what makes us human. Bias is just a word. You can have a bias towards maths or, science. So you're leaning towards it. You're good at it. You're leaning, you like it. As well as the other many, many types of bias that exist. So we are biased, every single one of us, because we're human. What can you do to make sure that people's biased decisions and judgment calls to do with you don't affect you negatively? That's one. But also, what can you do so that you mitigate being biased in a negative way towards other people, in your team, in your life, when you make decisions, and your your inherent bias about yourself. It's interesting, when we unpick sense of self and things that we don't even realize are in our code book of life, like, of course I'm not going to do that because I want to have a family. Of course I'm not, whatever. It's important to recognize bias is here to stay. So what can you do to mitigate its negative impact on your life? Well, a big part of it is, again, knowing the facts around it, recognizing the signs, but knowing what to do and to be able to self-advocate again. Yeah, so again, it comes back to communicating. So really, I have a three-pronged approach. One is finding out facts so that we can make informed decisions in life. And it's usually the mundane stuff of everyday stuff like, oh, I can't cope, I'm not going to take that thing on, I need to part-time, without really thinking through what it means to you. I don't mean don't do it, I mean do it based on informed choice, knowing what it'll mean to you and your life and your family. And then make a choice and a decision that is deliberate and that you have thought through the next step and set that in motion before you even make that decision. Go and get buy-in for it. 2, being able to communicate in a way that gets buy-in is so important. It's important in your professional life, in your private life. It boils down to being able to get across what you need, want, and do. What you need to sustain your sanity and self and all the rest of it. What you want for yourself, where your path is towards, where does the path towards your ambition and ability lie? How are you going to stay on it? And what you do. So what are you brilliant at? What do you sell? What do you make? What do you know? Being able to do that in a fantastic way, where people remember you for the right reasons, where people have you front of mind the next time they need something that you can do. Brilliant. Again, it's the same core communication skills. And what that means is the knowing the facts, being able to communicate effectively when you bring them together. That's how you sustain your self and your success. Sounds easy. Well, you know what? I think that if you get the right toolbox and you practice it and you're comfortable doing it and you are credible and you just own it, essentially, good things will happen. So back to the point. My purse is in pain. It's not about how clever you are, how much you can earn. It's about how much you do earn over the course of your lifetime. And that is really impacted by decisions that you make that you might think are mundane. Oh, I'll just part-time for a bit. Oh, I'll just that kind of thing. So know the realities that you're most likely up against and then make informed decisions. That impact on your financial journey. But here's another big thought for you. Lean into your earning potential. Sounds cool, doesn't it? lean into your earning potential. What does that mean? Well, I mean, look, you've invested the effort, the time, the whatever energy into sorting out the whole of life so you can show up to work, yeah? How about when you are at work and you are working, you lean into your earning potential? Meaning, there's that thing that's happening that's a step up. Go for it. There's a project that's happening. They need somebody. You'd be great. Go for it. There's a slot on a skills program that means that you could be considered for the next big thing. Go for it. Go for it, even if you haven't figured out all the building blocks of how you're going to make it happen. And guess what? If you can communicate effectively around what you need and want, you can figure out your building blocks and your support system as you go along. I just had a talk. I was giving a live talk to a wonderful audience from across the world, the wonder of the internet. I do really enjoy this virtual life of ours because instead of having to get on a plane, we had people across the world all together, all chatting, asking questions, engaging. And the questions included things like, will women ever catch up? Will we? You know what? Right now, I'm more interested in people's ability to sustain their own life and the lives of those that depend on them. That's such an important, pivotal thing to do. And by doing that, so many other good things happen. So, yes, it would be great if we had equality across the board. But I believe that if you arm yourself with the facts and figures and the how do I do it to sustain yourself and success, you'll be enabling the many. How? Because when you bring about change that helps you, you're creating a new pathway that helps you and helps anybody else who needs what you need, which I'm sure would be a lot of people, right? And that's how you bring about that bigger change. But there's more. When you do this, you create sustainable, enabling, inclusive systems that retain great people by default. When you do this, you enable brilliant people who maybe are like you to want to do what you're doing. You've done it. They believe they can do it. They see you. They emulate you. The younger generation says, that's how I can do it. They follow your lead. And in fact, this is my definition of leadership. It is creating new pathways for others to walk along beside you. Yeah, it's not about what hierarchy, what level you are at. It's about your ability to create, to invent and create and bring about and make happen these new pathways that enable you and the many. How about it? I just wanted to say, self-advocating is key. Being your own spokesperson is key. Sustaining yourself is fundamental because it makes other things happen too. Happy Women's Day.